start with, whoop, not that one. Let me get the color photo. Mary's not here, so I'm going to hand print it up for her. This one. So we want to have, what I would do is initially with a light pencil is kind of lay this out. It's very tempting to make that horizon line about halfway. Not a good design. So let me on the board quickly.
With something like this, should I shift the horizon line?
I would push it up or down. It is basically right in the middle. It's just not one of your stronger designs when everything's right in the middle. Is the barn also in the middle?
Almost.
Yeah, I would push that off to the side as well. If that makes sense. So I put up here sent you guys this list, right? Gloss, sheen, matte and dry, and the top to bottom, all that. So if I were going to, here's my paper. And we can see that it's about a third, not quite a third, it's between a third and a halfway. But I'm going to push it up. I'm going to push it up because it's going to be more interesting. Your rule of thirds, we talked about rule of thirds, I think, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to help. So traditionally speaking, you might want to have the trees where the light's shining through there, like that. This would be that distant horizon. And then you'd have the water in a nice kind of S curve coming through. Or you could push the horizon up even further. That's the rule of thirds. But you could push it up to almost even a quarter and have those trees. And vary the height, always vary the height and the color and everything, just slightly different. After you've gone with your brush onto your paper a few times, 1, 2, 3, go back to your palette, pull in a slightly different color into the color you're using and use that 1, 2, 3, 3 or 4 strokes, go back and mix it up again. Yay! Go sit with your buddy. I want to keep in mind that it's going to be light back here, very light. The water's going to come here, and then I have that nice S curve coming through. So that's going to help, and you never want this going off the corner, but that's going to help the eye to wander into the painting and up where you want to direct them.
Question.
I mean, just keep a very light hand. You want the paper to be just basically so you can see it. If it shows through the painting a little bit, that doesn't really matter too much. If you're concerned about doing a straight line, one thing I do is I don't know how to show this on the video, and you guys, I'll show the video first and then I'll show you.
Where can I find some more paper towels?
Oh, I'll get some.
Well, I can go get it if you.
So what I do to make a straight line is I hold my pencil and my little finger. Can you guys see? I'm sorry, I'm always doing this. And by holding it stiffly and freezing my hand, I can run my little finger along the edge of the paper and put down the pencil, and it'll make a perfectly straight line. Magic!
Adorable.
I know, I learned that back in design class, and there's a reason to go to college sometimes.
Draw a straight line.
Draw a straight line.
Straight line. There you go.
Right, I just think, yay!
You guys, yeah.
Now I need my subject. Oh, I've got it back there. So I'm just going to indicate how far over I want this to come. In the photograph, it comes about a third of the way in, so that's pretty good. That's a nice compositional thing. If these trees came to the middle, I'd push them back. You know, you really don't want things smack dab in the middle at all. So I would indicate about where those trees are going to start. And when I do that, these trees right here, I'm just doing maybe a couple little lines and a shape like that. That's all I need to say. Then I can go back with my brush stroke. This is very light lines. And then this I'm not gonna color it in. I'm gonna go, okay, this is some irregular trees over here. You know? So and you don't even actually have to do that much of a line because your brush work is gonna take care of that for you. And then give yourself some indication. Here's that distant horizon line where there's a shoreline. You want a little line in between that's gonna keep light. We wanna stay away from this little gap line here, and we wanna keep it because we want that bright white. And then as you come down through here, you're gonna leave some of that bright white as well. Because that's gonna be where you can look at the photo and you can see that the water's reflecting. And you don't have to have it in exactly the same place the photo has it. It can just happen wherever. As long as you keep in mind as you're painting in the grasses that you're gonna leave some white paper showing through. And then have a nice curve. You can have more curve if you want. You know, that's up to you. Kind of make it your own design. Don't like that so much. I really like maybe like that. So what I've done is, this is where those trees will go. I'm gonna put this beside it. Here. These trees here. This trees here. See how much taller those trees to the right are than the other ones? A distant line, thin line for where I want my light to show. And then a nice curve. The curve as you're coming through on the water, as things go further back, there's a number of things that happen. It's going to get lighter and softer back there, even in the photo. That's called aerial or atmospheric perspective because there's more atmosphere between you and what's in the distance, so it's softer. And things tend to flatten out as you go in the distance. If you look at a railroad track and you're standing right above the railroad track, it's going to be this way. But as it sits down, right, yeah, it's going to start going like this. And it's going to be, the ties are going to be closer back there and more widely spread here. If you get right down like this, it's going to be even more dramatic. That's some of my basic drawing stuff. So we want that waterway to be flatter toward the back and then kind of open up as it's coming toward us. Water always finds its own level. So when we do think about the top of the water, we're going to have it absolutely horizontal. Any questions on that so far? You're thinking. Molly's thinking. I like the thinking.
Question.
Carla, yes.
So to get this lightest green in here,
You're going to do that first and you add much more water.
much more water.
Right, so I start with a really, really, really light green, yellow green, and then bit by bit add in some of your other colors as you fade off into these darker areas. Make sense? Well, I wanted to share before we get, at some point, some other tools. Now, if you have the black and white photo, you can decide to make this photo in your blues and purples. The photo was late in the day, so I got a lot of golden and gold greens in it. But you're welcome to invent your own color. Shoot. Do you want to come up and watch me do this? That's hard for you, right, Dawn?
Well, yeah, no, I can come up and watch.
I can just quickly get it going, and then you can go back and do that first layer. So if you want to just
Be helpful for me.
come up and around. Now my photo, the sky is very, very light. But I am also going to prepare some warm golden colors because I'm looking at the grasses. Ooh, that is still fresh. That's nice. And I need some blue. I don't need that hair. Whatever that is.
Could have added to it.
I know.
Texture.
Texture. See, it's a little granular there, so I want to make sure I don't want to overmix it, but I want to make sure those grains are dissolved. And then I can quickly mix on my palette a couple greens. And I happen to have some sap green here, which I can quickly use if I want. Or you can easily make a green with, I'm going to take, this is like a cobalt or Prussian blue in the middle. I'm going to go back into my yellows, so I want to make sure my brush is very clean. And the best way to do is to test it. Nope, still has blue in it. And it's not, I mean, I'm going to mix a green, but I don't want to put that blue into my yellows. You can see there's a little bit in there, but it really, oh gosh, what am I?
Just loves that blue.
I know. It must be a
granules maybe?
granule is somewhere. Okay, finally.
Yellow.
Yes.
Me. I'm doing all this. Okay, I do it back in the blue.
Well, let's see what happens really quickly. So I have this middle of the blue. This is a transparent. I know this. This is transparent. This is opaque. You can look at, as it dries here on the edges, how you can almost, it's not really seeing through it, but it has a quality of being able to see through, where this one just looks more chalky. This looks more chalky, you know, so that the earth tones are chalkier. This is chalkier, and these are more transparent. So if I take this lemon yellow, I don't like that right there. It's right in my way. So take some yellow, and I make, let's see what happens. Okay. 3 dots. So if I use this middle, well, I'm going to do it in order. Here's my cerulean blue. Too much. I know it's too much. I'm going to take a dot of this, and I'm going to mix it here. So we have a transparent yellow with that opaque blue. And have you done these tests? You know, it's good to work through these. Then we can take some of this and mix it. It's going to give us a different green, and depending on how much, now it's more of a blue-green. With the ultramarine blue mixed with this, it's even different. So you can see how it changes which blue and which yellow you decide to mix. I don't want those right now.
Erase.
Be gone.
But I do want these petals, because as I'm mixing a color here, and I can just pull from here without messing up the whole puddle or going back into this. I can just kind of pull it out. I think I need more yellow, so I'm going to stick in this area now. Look how, now Carla, see, that's very, very light. I don't have a...
Come on in, mister. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I forgot to put my test paper out. Thank you. So that's fairly light. I'd want it more yellow even. So if it's not light enough, add a little more. But remember that it's going to dry a third lighter than how you put it down. But I would start there with your grass. And then as you're heading out toward the edges, add a little, the same color, just add a little bit more blue and drop it in. And then a little bit. So see how I do a few brush strokes, and then I go pick up a little bit more paint. Let's make it a little grayer. To make a green gray, you add kind of the complement, so anything in the reddish family. Pretty. I just threw some paint on there. So I'm mixing areas of color so I can be prepared without having to worry about messing up my wells of color. Good amount. I'm going from a lighter into this, so it doesn't matter how clean it is so much.
And that's the ochre?
That's kind of my yellow ochre. Yep. It's not exactly an ochre. I don't know what it is. It might be gamboge, but somewhere in that ochre family. I'm not one of those precise painters. It's like, but that's about the color. I'll mix it. It'll be fun. I'll come up with something new. I might also use some of this at some point. See how russety that is in there? So I have some color now. I'm going to start with the lightest areas. So my first will be a light blue probably for the sky. That looks pretty good. I want it very soft. I'm going to go ahead and wet that because I want it a wet wash.
Nice.
Lay it in quickly. I want it lighter now with bold strokes. I kind of like that. That looks like it might be a cloud doing something there. Boom, sky is done.
Oh, come on.
Right? I mean, because we don't want that much attention up there anyway, but that's all you really need to do. Now, I can't really do that distant shoreline right now because of the stage of wetness this is at. If I look at this, it's pretty wet. But I could look ahead and say, okay, I want to leave white, keep this in my mind, that thin line kind of white between where that distant shoreline is going to be and the light on the water. But then and I'm going to skip along this S curve that I have. Some of it I am going to leave white, so I want more of a dry brush. You notice I didn't wet this. And I want to keep it fairly flat. So with the dry brush, it'll look like sparkles on top of the water. Right?
Are you making a lot more water in this?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to, because then I'm going to bring the grass over. So a lot of this is going to kind of get obliterated. So this is giving me a rough idea where the water's going to be. Now what can I do? I don't know. Until this is drier.
Get out the hairdryer.
Yeah. Yep, a lot of people use hair dryers. The hair dryers tend to push the paint around, but if you use it carefully, it works pretty well. I want some of this bleeding of that distant shoreline, but I don't want too much. And right now I would get too much. Normally I would wait a while, but since it's a demo, I'm not gonna wait because you guys don't want to be standing too long. You think these are green trees back here, right?
Well,
But they don't look green. I mean, look at them. It's because it's getting light coming in and that warmth. And if you want that warm feeling, you want to encourage that. That's still quite wet. I'm going to wait. But I could bring in some of the grasses. So notice the grasses back here. I'm going to come back to this.
very red.
Are reddish, and that's the way the light's acting with the lens of the camera. But hey, it adds a cool element. Too red over here, but bring in some of that red toward the middle where you want your interest is in this area. Let's get in some of those
Kind of brown red.
brownish, reddish, and greenish, right? Brown, reddish, greenish, which are complementary color.
And it's very technical. Brownish.
Brownish, reddish, greenish. This is the official color. Those are complementary colors. If you let them blend too much, you're going to get gray, mud, brownish gray, boom. We don't want that this deep. We can save some of the deep color for those darker areas here. But for back here, even though the grass back here is the same color as the grass here, if you're right side by, because of that aerial perspective, that it's going to be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to mix a nice olive green. So if you notice, I had that green and I added some of the burnt sienna or the burnt umber, either one of those, is going to give you an olive. That is not anywhere near enough paint for what I'm going to need it for. So again, I will pick up some of the color. Do you have green?
Yeah,
I have a plain
Some
green.
green, or you can mix a green puddle,
Right.
right? So that's partly why I have green. Mixing green is so easy, but this is very convenient.
Yeah.
There's that.
What green is that?
That's a sap
Sap
green.
green.
And I think this blue. So I have right now kind of the mixings of the grassy areas that I want, except what? Well, the ochre, which is up here. So now I have more paint I can get going pretty quickly. I want it back there. I want it a little more on the blue side, so I'm going to come to here where the flowing together and kind of start picking up this. I want it a little more umbery so I can just sneak in there and pull a little bit. You don't want to go in there because then it's all messed up. And you always want to be slightly adjusting your color. And I'm going to test. That looks pretty dark, right? So I'm going to take that kind of, but I'm going to add more water. You can always add layer upon layer and make it darker. It's harder to lift layers and make it lighter. So, and I want this irregular, keeping in mind that thin line of white. See how I just skipped?
Yeah.
I didn't do that on purpose. The brush is doing a good part of the work. I want it a little more reddish now. Too dark? See how quickly, while it's still wet, you want to get back in there and adjust it. A little more yellow coming down at me. It's not all the same green all the way through. Look at how many different. So just by touching your palette, with your brush, you can change the color enough. Now I want it to start getting a little deeper down along the edge of the river. The shadow, because the sun is behind, the shadow is going to be on the far bank of the river. So you have to make a distinction. For instance, here, it's kind of the far, can you see okay?
Yeah.
Not far bank of the river, it's dark. And then on this side, see right between there, it's lighter. So think about that. So I'm going to add a little kind of shadowy, and I let it skip again. I didn't really create that, but I just kind of let it skip, which when you think about a marsh river, it's going to do that. I'm going to need more paint here, darker. So see how I can decide really quickly, I need a little more brown, I need a little more blue, boom, boom. There it is. Irregular, I'm pushing down and lifting up so it's not the same all the way through. I'm going to get this guy. I don't want to wet up there because I'm waiting for that to dry.
Oh, no, look at that.
And see by
Oh, you made instant marsh.
instant marsh.
So
I didn't have to do much work, right? It's just like boom, there it is. And we can do some more. I don't know why I'm going dark so fast. I'm going to ignore this bush. I don't care about him.
No, me neither.
Poor guy. Right? A little more green. I need more water down here. I want this to be wet and wet.
It's like magic.
Yeah, exactly.
But look how, quickly I'm working too.
That's impressive.
This is where, like, you're working with the expensive paper and you go, oh, but gee, what if I mess up or something,
Yeah.
No, just have fun with it. I don't want that there. I'm thinking now there's going to be shadow under those trees out there. So I'm going to make that a little darker. See, quickly, blue, brown. I'm sorry, I'm not really even thinking, but it's kind of there. On the lower side of these, I don't know why that's happening there, but it is. There might be some water there that we can't see. Let's go more golden.
My dreams.
Yeah.
No, you can, so you'll get it.
Neat. Oh, look
Oh,
at
I
that.
just messed up where my water was, so now my water's going in a different direction. Whoopsie. Woo-hoo. Well, this is part of the thing. Sometimes watercolor would just go, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And you're like, thanks. Not what I had planned, but okay.
That's so pretty.
It
Just-
is. It's just amazing.
Now these are just little marks here. I'm just dropping in color. I am not really thinking what I'm doing. Dropping in color. And I can do this throughout. I don't like this. This is too even. A little wetter. I want that smaller. There'll be some of this warm up in here as well. So now I'm looking at what the painting wants to do, and I'm going to kind of follow its lead. That needs to be flat. Hello. So I'm coming this way because this is,
Yeah.
it works better for me that way. And I can do a number of things here. I can, again, add texture if I want. I can take this brush or any, if you don't have this kind of brush, you can take this dry and splay it out. And
Oh, cool.
just push up.
Wow.
Let's get a little more color into that.
Yeah.
What's that brush called again?
It's just a hardware store brush.
Cheapo.
That's what I call it, yeah. Dollar store or whatever.
Chip brush, okay.
A chip brush, is that the official name?
That's what they call them in the hardware store.
Did you say shit?
Chip.
I heard shit too.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I don't know.
See that hair? I'm trying to lift that up without, otherwise it'll dry in there and leave a line. Yeah, if that happens, don't try to pick it up with your fingers, because
Oh,
yeah.
It only gets worse.
So you see how I'm variegating the grass a little bit here and there? And very quickly and just for fun, I'm gonna add, oh, there went my image. I'm gonna add some red in. Yeah, but it's gotta have the password now, so that's all right, it's my fault. Whoa, all right, who cares?
Yeah.
Kinda, ooh, actually, that's kinda working okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That adds the sun back into it.
Now I gotta bring some down in here. See, there's a reason why I left the tips of those grass. So now this is gonna blend. This is pretty wet, and I'm gonna have to come back over with dry brush layers to add in some nice detail in the grasses, etc. And this is too big. It looks like a whole pond back there. Let's break it up a little bit. You got an appointment due?
No. My sister playing Wordle. You know, we share. We're on a thread with my daughters and my sister.
I gave up on Wordle. We talked about that because those stupid hats.
Oh, connections is even worse.
I just got thrilled that
I do the
That
New
all
York
that-
Times one.
everybody
Yeah, me too.
texting out their Wordle scores seems to have dropped
Yeah.
down a little
Precipitously,
bit.
yeah.
Thank God.
Oh no, Wordle I like.
Yeah.
It's words with friends that I've stopped playing.
Oh, yeah, those
yeah.
ads are. I
did
thought
too.
I'm not getting ads on Wordle.
You guys do spelling bee?
Yes,
No, but I do the connections and that thing's
Connections
That thing
is fun.
Stupid.
every now and then it's like
Especially when you
I
try
just
and
give
cheat.
up.
It makes
Yeah.
no sense at all.
And then other days they just come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You get them
Sometimes those words are not in your frame of reference too. It's like
Wheel.
what?
And when something could, if you add it with this word, or if you take one letter out of each color, you
Yeah.
get the, and like
I know. Like, who would think of
it's
that?
always the last
It's
connection.
well,
I
it
make
definitely
up words.
stretches your
Weirdo.
brain, but it's
Now it's too dry.
Right.
It's dry so fast in here.
Somebody was talking, I swear somebody was talking about this on Jeopardy the other night.
I am going to,
Probably.
I want to make a very irregular
It's
spray
very
here.
popular.
See, I do this because the first spray,
Oh,
it does
yeah.
always
Wet.
doesn't come out. You have to get it going.
Oh.
Now this is important. I gotta check this in the light. It's okay, but it needs more.
What do you mean by irregular?
I don't want it flowing together. I want it to be speckled. Can you see the
Yeah.
speckles in the light? So it's irregular droplets, where if I use this one, it would be an even wash all the way across. These are okay. That's going up into the trees. No big deal. And now my distant shoreline is kind of very warmish, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But light.
Grayish, warmish.
Too much paint. Oh, here's my, that might work. I want it to be warmer. Too dark. This is where you see artists, they'll keep adding and adding because they're looking for that right color. Okay. I'm going to turn my paper because this, I can use this
Smart.
mark as a more natural mark going across.
Man.
And if I want, and see how it's kind of bleeding up for those
Yeah.
distant trees, I'm going to add a little warmth in here. More yellow gold. I messed up my yellow there. A little bit. And then at some point, let me look here. I want these trees. There's a shoreline here, so this goes back into the ocean area back there. If I want, maybe I can add a little depth at the lower edge of this. See how my brush is curling slightly? So I turn it in the direction I want, so I have just the tip of that. So you have all these little things you pay attention to. That'll help define that far edge of the water.
Nice, very nice.
There. And then I can throw in some of these darker, baby's getting in the way here.
Baby wants to see too.
This is how it's done.
Yeah. Come out criticizing your baby.
I drew in this little archway where I kind of indicated where I want this tree, because now I'm tempted to put it over this way more,
Yeah.
but I already designed it.
Oops, blocks.
Whoa.
You got a lot of paint on
We
the
all
brush.
grown.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Done.
Now it
That's
just
all you have to
works.
do. As long as you catch it soon enough. So I'm just dropping, but because of the irregular droplets that are already on there, it's doing most of the work for me. I'm getting tree holes. It might not be exactly the type of trees that are there. Tree holes are the negative space between the branches where the sky shows through. We still try to figure out who came up with the term tree hole.
Probably Bob Rose.
Could have been. I should go listen to some of Bob. But I don't, you have to be careful. We've talked about Bob, right?
Well, then,
Yeah.
That couple that took over his
Yeah.
whole estate and just,
oh.
his kids are getting nothing.
What?
At the end of his life, yeah, they became 51% holders and he lost all the rights to all his stuff. And so do not ever buy any Bob Ross stuff now.
And I just bought something about 6 months ago.
God.
I wish I'd known.
There's a documentary on it
neat.
somewhere.
I honestly didn't like him as much as I liked Bill Alexander.
Bill was,
frankly.
yeah, he was the original.
He was,
Yeah.
grumpy fart guy who was,
Yeah.
and, it was real clear. I got so tired of the happy trees and the happy things
know,
and the
me
little
too.
kid. I'm like, come
I like him
on.
in retrospect. I don't
Yes,
like him.
right.
He was a Vietnam vet. He
Yes.
went through a lot of,
I
Yeah.
personally liked his hair.
Yeah.
That's what my hair used to look like.
Wow.
All right, at this point, I need to leave this and let it dry because it's just too wet for me to do much more. But you can see how quickly and easily you get it going.
So quick and easy.
Yes. So mine's
Everybody do it.
just like that. I
Kind
just
of
want to
plan
watch you
ahead.
paint. That's all I
I
want.
mean, the
Yeah.
design is not that good. I'm like, I got to adjust this somehow because
We of course think it's fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just sign it and we'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's SHAUSER.
Okay. I'll try to remember that. So does that kind of help? Doesn't help you much, but
Yeah.
Techniques are the
yeah.
With the mixing. Is
And I can come back and add some details later, and
This is all on
Just
video,
amazing.
right?
yes.
Yeah, that's what's so cool.
I
You
hope
get
it
a
is. Oh no,
second
the
run.
video's off.
Oh.
No, I don't know. No, it's still going. Did you see her face?
Yeah.
I was gonna get my camera.
Do it again.
Do it again. Yeah, and sometimes while I'm standing and watching this is why I would set this aside and start working on another. I've got the energy going, but keep an eye on it at the same time. What I'm noticing is this needs more darks down near the base. While it's still wet, it'll bleed into, the dark
Shadow.
into dark. So this is a good time to kind of add into that. Probably should add some down here, but I know this is drier. Let's see what happens. I'm going to lighten it a bit. Nope, not that. Changed my mind. No, I want to go this way.
Would like a toothbrush do something like that?
Actually, the toothbrush might work better because it's more controllable than this. So I'm getting the paint on one edge of the toothbrush. See how I have it at an angle?
Yeah.
So it gives you different type texture. So if you're not sure of your texture, texture. You always have, it's too dry, I just messed up my water. Too wet. No. So it's a good idea to have a card to test on. It's not coming out well. Not the way I want it. What if I pulled it? So if I need to pull it, I need to turn this over. Yeah, there we go.
There you go. Wow.
How cool.
Kind of incredible.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Because, I mean, as you look at it close up, and this is what they say about Bob Ross's stuff, it's kind of like, ew, it's just, you know.
Yeah.
But
and
you
then look
step
at the
back,
distance
and it
it's
kind of
right.
fits
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
If this is
Depth.
That's true
too
with so many
even,
paintings.
I might want to blot a little bit just to vary that on the higher side, not down in the shadows. Go, go.
Be gone.
Fireflies. Oh, it's so quiet.
Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
This little bitty.
Another way to do that is with masking fluid.
Well, I was going to ask what your feeling was about that.
I have mixed feelings about it.
What's masking fluid?
It's a fluid and it acts a lot like a rubber cement almost. So you paint it on, and I always have dedicated brushes. I know my dedicated brushes because I have a blue tape on them. This is used for masking fluid and acrylic. I don't use any of my good brushes with masking fluid and acrylic. It gets into your good brush, you can't get it out. I take it, I add a little soap in here into the brush. So when I go to clean it, it's going to clean easier. So then I dip it, I paint it on where I want it. A little thick sometimes, but not too thick. It leaves a very distinctive edge when you take it off. That's one of the things I have with it. I've seen an Asian gentleman use it, and it doesn't have that distinctive edge. He does something different, and I haven't figured it out yet. But it can be, for like what Carla's doing, that resist. Once you get that light background in, you could paint this over if you had a large area of dark to put over it. Or if you're doing water and you want to sparkle in the water, you could take your toothbrush and sprinkle on some of the masking fluid. You have to let it totally dry before you paint over it. Then you have to wait for the painting to totally dry before you remove it. So, but it can be a useful tool. Another thing is, I think I mentioned using titanium white acrylic paint to bring the sparkle back. Many of your sets, if you bought a set, have the Chinese white in it, but that is an opaque white. It has, a chalkiness to it. This does not. But then it's acrylic, so it's going to resist anything you try to put on top. I just use this at the very end to bring out lights if I need to, if I need some highlights. They do have these special removal tools to take the masking fluid off. But if you save some of the masking fluid itself and roll it up in a ball, that does the same thing. You don't have to buy a special tool. It comes in many different types. Dries out often very quickly. I'm checking to see if it's still fluid. Trader Joe's. Cheap Joe's has these small bottles, which are pretty nice. There's also this stuff called, I can't remember what it's called because I've had bad luck with it. Brush-O.
Brush-O?
Brush-O. It is pigmented watercolors, just ground pigment, and you sprinkle it on something. You can either sprinkle it into wet paper, or you can sprinkle it on the paper and then wet it. I'll do example here for the camera while you guys are painting away.
So where, this is gonna be a stupid question, where do we get the videos?
I send the link out on the emails.
Do ya?
Yeah.
Send me on.
Like after this class tonight or tomorrow, I'll send you an email, and it has the link to the video and some information. Yeah, it's just helpful little
I just
things.
totally missed all those. When all else fails, read the instructions.
So overrated.
Instructions? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm showing the color of this brush. So this is called olive, and it looks like rust. So I'll sprinkle. This stuff is poison. It's not poison. It's just, we call it poison when it touches something and it goes everywhere.
Yeah, right.
Very apt to do. So on here is just a powder, and you don't have to look now because it's on the video, which now Dawn knows how to access. And then I'm going to do my spray on it. And it wets the pigment and spreads it around. You can also do it with a brush. Let me do a brush. There. Fascinating. So out of that color, it creates a variety of colors.
Oh, how weird.
Oh, wow.
So it was the powder, I sprayed it, and then I washed it with a brush. So it's a little unpredictable, but it can do some interesting things.
Great for confetti.
Field of flowers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the flowers.
Ooh. Well, I was doing a painting, a commission for somebody, and I thought, oh, it needs some texture. I'll use this brush-o. And it was in the right family, but when I put this in at the very end of my painting, it didn't go with the colors that were on my painting.
Oh, how depressing.
It's
So it just comes up
It's
with
a
a bunch
powder.
of colors.
It's a powder, and you combine them, and so you get kind of an olive. But also, if you just spray it, a
Whoa.
loose spray, it can do different textures.
That's wild.
It is pretty wild. So if you use it right, it's cool. I just haven't had the patience to really learn how to use it right. I met the gentleman who is the Cheap Joe national representative for Brush-O. He is.
Sweet.
He travels the country in his little truck RV.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
With his dog and
With
his
his dog,
paintbrush.
yeah. Do you remember when he went and he got married, and then the marriage lasted like just a few months?
What a surprise.
I know. I was like, wait a minute. Sweetest guy. Gosh, I can't remember his name right now though, at the moment.
We won't tell him.
But he'll do outlines of animals, and he'll put water just inside the animal body, and then he'll drop this in, and it creates a great texture. See if I can find it. Who bought two rigger brushes? Was that you?
Me, yeah.
I got a rigger brush. I'm so excited. Tree trunks in a distance. Rigger brush is great for them. And don't make them straight. They're not fence posts. Or evenly spaced. Nothing more. Little soldiers standing there in the field. I'm taking this little wash that I did with the Brush-O and making a little something out of it. This I don't even have to add paint right now. I'm just have a wet brush, and it's picking up some of the particles. Available soon on a video to you. So of course my latest favorite medium is pastels, because you can almost do this with pastels. But then this international school wants me to do watercolor. I said, really? We took a survey and everybody wants you to... Okay.
My survey is I should do pastels.
All right, time to add more pink. This is great.
For me.
Yes.
It just looks like a mess to me.
Yeah, mine's all boring.
Well, it's your under layers, which are your lighter layers, and then you can... That's great.
This is beautiful.
That's very nice.
I'm gonna just do the same thing she does.
No, but don't touch this. This is working really good. Okay.
Yeah.
The river went underground.
Well, this is just
It does
brush
that.
and
Brush
stuff.
hanging
Yeah.
over.
And the grass gets in the way and you can't see all of it. You coming?
Yeah.
You don't, yeah, you do have a rough spray. In between here, you kind of got two separate areas,
Yeah.
so you can kind of bring those together. And don't do too much detail now, which you're not really,
Okay.
but you can add that on top.
On top. Okay.
Layers again. Watercolor, you can layer. You start with the lightest, leave the white. Okay, let me say this. Leave the white, lightest washes first, then your mids, then your details, heavy, usually dry brush at the end with your heavy details. That means thicker paint, less water, where at the beginning you use a lot more water. I turned this back on to look something up. There it is. Yeah, what's up?
Well, I tried the straight line trick and I blew it. Or
Did your hand slip kind of or something? Or?
no, I didn't seem to. So I either did it wrong or I have a crooked straight line on my pad here.
A crooked straight line? I love it.
Yeah.
I love oxymorons.
Well,
Wasn't it?
not too bad.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Very nice, very nice.
Oh, thank you. So good enough for government work now becomes good
Yes,
enough
yeah,
for
you're hired.
watercolor.
You are hired.
What happened?
There's some very nice passages in this, see,
Yeah, that's
right?
great.
This area is working very nicely. This
Not so much.
is still wet.
Yeah.
You could drop some dark in here and let it just bleed for a bit.
Okay.
And then this is a little awkward where it looks like
Yeah.
it just comes here. So I would just go ahead and kind of
Cover.
cut that off and
Cut.
the river goes behind the grasses.
Okay.
And then make these foreground ones a little more intense. This is working very intense. You know, you put the word tent up and you crawl inside and they're intense. Fun. Things that come into our heads.
Yeah. Thank you.
Too transparent in the front.
these Cotman colors are pretty good. They're good starting.
Okay.
But if you go to buy more paint and you really love watercolor and you want to keep going, consider Daniel Smith colors. Very high quality pigment, and they'll last you forever.